Hey, what's up? Doing a quick voice recording because I don't have my camera on right now. Though this isn't being done with my mini disc recorder because I am in front of my computer, so it doesn't really make much sense for me to pull the recorder out to record when I got my computer in front of me now and can just record with this. So, yeah. I'm responding to a dude who responded to my video on atheists and irrationality. And while he brought up some really interesting points, and I think they are interesting. If you guys haven't seen his response video to mine, go ahead and check it out. There are a couple of things that I think need some clearing up. First off, when I was talking about atheists being irrational, I wasn't talking about their efforts at supporting free speech. I do understand that Thunderfoot and some other people were doing what they were doing because they were offended by certain Muslims attacking certain aspects of free speech, especially when it came to portraying, their Prophet Muhammad and such. While I will not go into the way that Thunderfoot expressed himself and how it is a bit questionable, I do understand that the motivations behind it were about free speech. That's not what I was talking about, however, when I was talking about irrationality and atheism, or atheism in particular. Rather, I was talking about the select few individuals who decided that the best way to deal with people who express their displeasure at certain things being done was to attack them personally and to send them death threats and to say rather harmful and disparaging things, rather than dealing with the subject in a rational manner. Those are the types I was talking about. Not the people who were actively talking about, oh, we're doing this because we're trying to support free speech. But let's just bring up the free speech aspect for a bit. If there is a person who says that they're defending free speech, and while they're doing that at the same time they're bashing somebody else for expressing their own selves, then that in itself is hypocritical. And not only that, irrational. So there really isn't anything wrong with what I was saying if you think about it. That's my son. I'm trying to get him to sleep. Anyway, yeah, I wasn't really talking about the efforts for free speech and the videos about free speech. Rather, I was talking about the atheists who were doing things like attacking Richard Coughlin for his criticisms, which make no sense and, are irrational. Now on the subject of sociopaths, which I thought was a rather interesting point to bring up about human beings and lack of emotion. Whenever we're talking about human beings and rationality or irrationality, emotion, of course, is going to be brought up. Talking about how human beings are more emotional than rational. In other words, we react emotionally to stimuli more often than we react in a cold, logical manner. And this has been proven over and over again. Whether this is good or bad is that's a major debate in and of itself. But you were bringing up sociopaths, saying that's, you've come up with an example of a type of human being who is purely rational. I highly contest this because, for one thing, you're saying that the proof that you have of this is the fact that sociopaths have a major lack of emotion. Therefore, the only way that they do react to the world around them is in a rational, logical manner. However, if you actually look up the disorder, you'll find that they actually do display forms of emotion. What makes them sociopaths is not lack of emotion, but rather lack of control over certain emotions, particularly the strong, violent ones, such as anger, irritability, annoyance, and so forth. Furthermore, you'll find out what they lack is a lack of empathy, or acknowledging the feelings of other human beings. That's what they're lacking, not emotion. Sociopaths display emotion all the freaking time. If they happen to be doing something like, let's say we're dealing with the extreme end of sociopaths, those running around murdering people, they get pleasure from that. It's not like they're just doing it and then they leave and they're just completely cold and detached from it. They get a sense of pleasure from that. They get a sense of happiness from it. They do feel a sense of frustration or anger at those that they feel stand in their way. And sometimes they might even go after someone and kill them out of anger for some imagined, some imagined insult or some imagined reason that they have for that individual. So they do have emotional reactions to things. The difference is they have a lack of empathy for human beings around them. That's what makes them sociopaths or antisocial, especially if we're going to be going with the more clinical term for their condition, which is antisocial personality disorder. Sociopath is just more of a layman's term. Now, a lack of emotion doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to you're always going to be correct in your analysis. Just because you're logical and rational doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes. You still can. See, the reason why we tend to say that people who are overly emotional will make a lot of mistakes or tend not to see the world clearly is because they tend to be controlled by those emotions and blinded by it. Someone who's extremely happy about everything around them sometimes might miss some of the things around him that might make him sad, or he might miss out on some more depressive aspects of life around him, which might be real. Just like somebody who's completely gripped by, feelings of sadness or depression might miss out on certain opportunities because they're not optimistic enough to see them. It's just, their sense of perspective. Now, you may say that if you're completely rational and logical, you won't miss these things. And yeah, there is a good chance that you won't miss out on certain things. But how you interpret them may lead you to make a mistake. There are examples of people who follow something to what they think is a logical conclusion, and they're being cold and logical about it, but they end up with the wrong answer. Being logical and rational doesn't mean you're always going to be right. And that's a mistake that I find a lot of people on the intellectual side make over and over again. That, of course, I'm pretty sure many people find subject to debate. I'm pretty sure they think that, we have to be completely logical in order to get to the truth of things, and that's the only way to be right, all the time. Not necessarily. There are a lot of people who have been able to get to the truth of something, or able to understand something better with a gut reaction, which tends to lean more towards so-called intuition or emotional feeling than just simply being clinical about it. How many times have you found yourself sometimes saying, wait a minute, something's telling me I should go this way? Or how many times you're like, oh, wait, I shouldn't do this. And you really don't have a logical reason why. You didn't reason it out. You didn't logically think through it. Just something in your gut's telling you, nah, this is not what I should do. And you found out later that that was the right choice to make. It wasn't logic that led you to that. And that's, I guess, one of the more curious and mysterious things about the human mind. Remember, we haven't really fully understood ourselves yet and how our minds work and how we interpret reality around us. So we have to be pretty careful when we start trying to, quantify certain aspects of our mental processes. All right, that's it. That's all I really wanted to do, just clear up a couple of those points. Catch you guys later.